Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for today's Nita Connections. I'm so excited about today's guest, Domenica Feraud, who was born and raised in New York City and the proud daughter of Dos Ecuatorianos. I hope I said that correctly.
Ecuatoriano, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Domenica Feraud recently made her off-Broadway stage debut as both a playwright and actor in Rinse Repeat at Signature Theater, and she was in another off-Broadway show called The Wild Parrots of Campbell. Domenica's TV and movie appearances include Law& and Order SVU, the film Beta Fish, and the upcoming Life After You. Domenica received a bachelor's in fine arts from the Stella Adler Studio of Acting at NYU. Today, Domenica is joining us to talk about her play, Rinse Repeat, which she is bringing back for a one-time only live streamed reading this Friday, May 1st from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, which will also be benefiting Nita. So welcome, Domenica. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Chelsea.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, living in New York City, I've had the pleasure of seeing the play last summer, and we were talking a little bit offline. And I was telling you that I saw it with my mom, and she and I both have lived experience, and it was just so touching. We laughed, we cried, I wanted to share the I wanted to let everyone know about it, and I did let my greater New York City friends know, and I'm so excited that now there's a live stream we can share and people that aren't local can see. So, to get started, can you just give our audience a little bit of an overview of the storyline of Rinse Repeat, including the meaning behind the title?
Yeah, absolutely. So in Rinse Repeat, the main character, Rachel, had a very severe battle with anorexia, and she ended up being hospitalized for 4 months. And the play takes place over the course of her first weekend home, sort of a trial weekend to see how things go and if she's ready to leave inpatient and fully make the transition back. And it's all that she's wanted. It's all she's been working towards. Um, and the thing with the play is from the point of view of some members of her family, she seems to be recovered, which is, I mean, they're catching her at a very early stage. It's that recovery is very tentative, but her family so badly wants things to just be back to normal. And throughout every moment of the play, we really see her desperately trying to hold on to her recovery. But her family, and particularly her mother, make that challenging for her and trigger her in ways that she wasn't aware of before starting treatment. And now she's coming back home with open eyes, and it's really challenging and a hard realization that the place that she most wanted to be, that what was getting her through recovery of getting back with her family, is actually the place that might be hurting her the most. And the title, Rinse Repeat, refers to the cyclical nature of eating disorders, how they can often be passed down in families, and how difficult and painful and impossible it can feel to break that cycle.
Totally. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. So what was your inspiration for writing the play?
So I went through an eating disorder when I was in college. I had amenorrhea for 4 years, and it stayed with me long after. It's been most of my adult life. It's been there somewhere. Even now, I still struggle. I consider myself in recovery. And frankly, so did many of the women in my life growing up. When I was a child, my mother had an eating disorder. A lot of it was everywhere. And I am an avid theater goer. Theater has been my biggest obsession since I was a child until food took over. And I would still go to the theater constantly. And I started to notice that there were just no plays about this. We weren't talking about this at all. And that lack of representation of eating disorders in the arts, it really frustrated me, because here is this addiction and illness that so many people across the world struggle with, and we don't talk about it, which only adds to the shame and stigma surrounding eating disorders, which runs pretty deep. And I wanted to change that and start this conversation, and put this story into the world because, frankly, I wish I had had something like it when I was at my worst.
Absolutely. And kind of building off of that, media representation of eating disorders, often just perpetuates these stigmas. It focuses on, the strive for thinness or this appearance ideal and weight loss. And a lot of times it talks about how the protagonist just bravely fought this illness alone. And the approach that you took, showing kind of eating disorders within the family system and functions, which we know that eating disorders, there's many factors to developing an eating disorder, but there is a, genetic and biological component to that. There's also the nurture versus nature, right? So we do know that there is a lot of, both you and I just said that our mothers had an eating disorder, we had an eating disorder, so that's very common. And so, what was your motivation for kind of framing the story in the context of the family? And also the film, it mostly takes place in the kitchen, correct?
Yeah, and the way we said it like even when Rachel would go to bed, the kitchen counter was her bed, so it was just that like food is always present is how our director Kate Hopkins handled it, and which was really really great and made the most sense for the world of the play. So yeah, it's never really about the food, I think, when it comes to eating disorders, which is something most people don't understand. There is just this, just eat. And in the media representation of it as like the strive for thinness, there's a lot more going on. Sure, surface level, that might be what you're seeing, but way down deep, there's so much else. And each person is individual, and each reason why they are struggling is individual. But those media representations definitely did frustrate me. It felt like a shallow look at a much deeper problem. And I started thinking about the family drama within theater, and we've seen it like with alcoholism, with drug addiction, with even with nope, just showing families and their natural habitat. And I thought, okay, well, what happens if you take that family drama and you put an eating disorder within it? Because with inpatient treatment, there is a high relapse rate. And I started wondering why that is. It's similar with rehab. And they talk about how people, places, and things are the most difficult when you're coming back to reintegrating into your life before. Because when you're in that specific environment, you may be able to overcome your demons, and that alone is incredibly challenging. But if you then drop that person right back into the environment that they got sick, without the family doing that incredibly painful work of figuring out what caused this illness and what role they may have unknowingly played, that relapse statistic starts to make more sense. Our families also shape who we are. Like, I mean, I remember talking to my mom once, and she said, I was very young when she had her eating disorder, and I don't remember the impact it had on me, and clearly it did in some way. There were so many other factors. I actually think that my mother controlling me had more of an impact than watching her, but my mom said, like, if she had any idea that what was going on would affect me, she would have gone about things differently, but she had no idea that I was observing. And I know our families, they love us and they want to help us, and they often feel lost as to how to do so. And I wanted family members to understand what it is that their loved ones are going through, and what factors may have contributed to their child or their siblings' eating disorder, and how they can also help them going forward. Because, as I said earlier, it's not about the food at its core. And in this play, what we come to realize is that it is the whole family's illness. It's just happened to land in the body of this girl.
Right, right. And I think you hinted at it, and I just want to make it very clear that we're not blaming the families. We're not
No,
blaming
no,
the
no,
mothers.
no,
It's,
not at all.
yeah,
Not at
it's
all.
just the reality that, it is an illness that does affect all the families, and our environment does shape who we are, as you said. And so I think you do a really good job at that, like, nuanced approach to, showing how the family, affects Rachel, but not making it seem like we're parent blaming or anything like
No,
that.
no. It's incredibly complicated, and what I wanted to get at the play also was just all of the factors that contribute, and something my favorite, frankly, maybe my favorite character in the play is the mother, who a lot of people, I would get very offended just as a writer when people would criticize her because I'm like, she's doing her best. I mean, she really
Right.
is. Everything she has no idea. She has no idea. I don't think anybody is ever meaning or would ever mean to hurt their child in any way, shape, or form. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. That's why I say it's not about the food. There are so many factors contributing to an eating disorder. It is hard to figure out where this came from or what is going on, and the play is just showing the complexity of that.
Absolutely. Yes. And so, as I mentioned before, Rinse and Repeat was initially a limited run last summer, and I, again, so grateful that I got the opportunity to see it in person. So, what made you bring it back for a one-time only live stream reading during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I know that if I had to self-isolate when my eating disorder was at its strongest, I would not be doing well right now. And I am very lucky that my recovery is the strongest it's been in this moment, that those demons are quieter than they've been in the past. And because it is very easy for the disorder to take over right now. And as soon as I heard about Play Per View, the company that will be streaming, our producers that are going to be streaming this reading on Friday, and the amazing work they've been doing, I couldn't stop thinking about the opportunity to bring this play to those who need it most at a time where I believe that they need it most. There are some adult children right now who are suddenly having to go home and be with their families, and that must be challenging for everyone, for the parents who don't know how to help, who don't know what to do, it's just, and then there are some people in isolation completely, and just that voice is fully taking over. So I think telling this family story right now can help. And a difficulty with theater is how inaccessible it can be. So yes, if you weren't in New York over the summer, then you missed Rinse Repeat. And I know there are people all over the world who need this story. Like I said, I'm from, my family's from Ecuador. Over there, like it is a global issue that a lot of people don't talk about enough because there is so much shame and stigma attached. So now they're able to see it, and tickets are $5 and can be accessed through the events page on Play Per View's website, which is www.play-perview.com. And I also just wanted to say that if price is a barrier to anybody, please DM. It's at play_per view on Instagram, and we will figure out a way to take care of you because I know right now finances are a real challenge. So the most important thing to us is to get this play to those who need it. And I think a lot of people might. Storytelling helps, and representation means everything. That's always how I felt.
Totally. Yeah, and we're going to add a link to purchase tickets in the caption when we're done filming, so it will be accessible to everyone watching. So, yeah, I guess as we're wrapping up, I know you mentioned that you prepared kind of a short little monologue, a sneak peek for our viewers. So if you would kindly share that with us.
Absolutely. This is a scene where, towards the end of the play, where Rachel is with her father. Mom has a scale in her room. It's haunted me since I grew boobs, I guess. I'd go in there and step on it, and the number was so high, like not normal, and I'd think about how much I must disappoint you. When mom finally got pregnant, you probably dreamt about how beautiful your little girl was going to grow up to be, but instead you got me. This huge, disgusting thing that nobody wanted to date. At Yale, I don't have a scale, so I'd use moms to check in. Did I gain weight from that sip of water or that bite of lettuce? And how much running would it take to make it go away? Right before Renly, I went up there. I wanted to know what my ultimate low weigh-in was, like a badge of honor. It was. You'd probably find the number pretty horrifying, but it made me so happy. It felt way better than any A I ever got. And there we go.
I was waiting for more. Thank you. That was so wonderful.
There's more that goes on in that scene, but that is the
Well, I
monologue.
guess folks will have to watch on Friday to see how the rest plays out. Well, thank you again, Domenica, for joining us today and talking about Rinse Repeat. And thank you to everyone that's watching at home. As I mentioned previously, you can find the link to purchase tickets for Friday's live stream, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, in the caption of this post. And everyone have a great day and take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.